Yes, people, welcome back to another stream fresh off the disappointment of Algeria's 1-1 draw last night. We're here to talk about Calvin Phillips. Get your yes in the chat for a shout out. Let's see who we've got in the building today, man. We've got LB1998, we've got Itchy Gold, big up to Brett, Wizzy, Vida Zane, Tyrese, big up Rob, Fraser, Hannah, Mank Ninjas here as well, big up to Brand Holt, Dell, Witherspoon, Dylan, Pulmer, Slicku, Aurea, Ahmed, Willem, Canada, Lawrence here, Abdisalad, RGS, Sam. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Please make sure, guys, you smash the like on the stream if you've not done so already. And make sure you subscribe to the channel as well as Joel's channel, link in the title. Joel, man, how we doing, Bray? We all right?
Yeah, man, I'm really good, man. Yes from me as well, man. I'm doing good, man. Do you know what I mean?
You're joining in. You wanted to shout out.
Yes. No, I'm doing good, mate. January transfer window is a tiring time, but it's good, man. It's good.
Does your football club realise the January transfer window's open? Because my football club doesn't recognise the January transfer window. It doesn't do business in January. Does your club do business?
Not normally, but the 49ers will, I think, genuinely, like previous regime before these came in, we did nothing as well, so it was rough. So now I'm hoping we will, mate. But it's all right for you. You've got the best team in the world, let alone the country, so you're all good. Oscar Bob, mate, flying.
Yeah, Oscar Bob, he's cooking. And listen, it was quite funny actually, bro, because like 2 weeks ago, started seeing all this stuff in the media about Pep Guardiola was wrong to let Cole Palmer leave and all this kind of stuff. And now like Oscar Bob comes on and wins us the game in the 90th minute against Newcastle. And it's like, bro, how people still question this manager is absolutely beyond me. But
we did a scouting report on my channel at the start of August, and we were talking about Oscar Bob as a potential loan, but obviously that was never going to happen, was it? And now look at him, man, he's flying.
Well, there was rumours that City basically shut it all down and said we don't want him to be loaned, and of course because we got rid of Cole Palmer, we couldn't really afford to loan him out anyway. But he's absolutely slamming it. Before I come on to Calvin Phillips, bro, I want to just have a quick word about this whole FFP situation, because it seems to be the hot topic at the moment that everyone wants to speak to. Everton again, as well as this time, Notts Forest have been charged by the Premier League with breaching profit and sustainability rules, or other people just call it FFP. Everton fans obviously fuming about this because this is the second time they've been charged. Forest fans maybe a little bit disappointed as well because they're just looking at the fact that the club spent the money to try and stay in the Premier League. They will say, why are we not allowed to spend money to try and stay in the Premier League? Do you look at this and go, rules are rules. You guys breached the rules. You got to take the punishment. Or are you a little bit more sympathetic? Like, what's your sort of view on this?
And previously, I've said, listen, it's about keeping the rich and the poor, right? That's been my genuine take, because I've never seen it actually being anyone be sanctioned, basically. But now we're seeing sanctions through profit and sustainability. And a lot of people, listen, I spoke on it this morning on my channel, and everyone's going, what about City? What about City? Now, the City situation is different, right? This is about like offshore accounts and all this sort of stuff. It's not the same thing, right? So people need to make that distinction between the two. And ultimately, Everton Forest have broken the rules, man, and they should be held account for it. They should be held account for it, because what it does do is creates an even playing field. Big up to you this morning sending in that Athletic article, because listen, I have no sympathy whatsoever for Nottingham Forest specifically. I do have sympathy for the fans, but for the owner, because he sanctioned a deal to give Chris Wood £100,000 a week, 100 grand a week. That is insane, LB. Like, never Chris Wood should be earning that sort of money. Not a chance. What? For what? Newcastle, they paid John Josh Selvey 75 grand a week. They had about 7 goalkeepers on their books. They had about 4 right backs, 8 defenders. I'm sorry, you are the master of your own downfall. You are the master of your own downfall. So, because ultimately, my football club could have, we were relegated last season. So my football club could have bought in 8 right backs and 9 centre backs, and we might have stayed up. So it's all good saying, oh, they had to do that, but they did that. We didn't do that. We couldn't, because we were like, well, if we do that, then got this accounting issue going into next season. Same with Everton. Let's be honest. Everton, I get why they're upset because they could get another 10-point deduction or whatever it may be, but Everton have been treading this line for a good few seasons, LB, and not had any sanctions. Now we're in sanctions. It's like, okay, if you're going to put it in, then at least put it in. And they are doing that. I get why everyone just goes on the face of it. Well, what about City? What about Chelsea? Well, Chelsea haven't done no wrong yet. That's the key point, yet. The 8-year deals will come back to bite them. I'm convinced of it. But the City thing is totally different, and the date's now been set for City. So let's see what happens there.
Oh, the thing that frustrates me about that whole situation is when people say, "What about City?" Is like you've already said, they're completely different, which they are completely different. Everton also admitted their guilt.
yeah, exactly.
Which I don't know. For me, that's just such an obvious thing of like that kind of speeds up the situation. Like if you go to court for a crime,
100%. You
say, "I'm pleading guilty, Your Honour."
Yeah, you don't then go to trial, do you? Yeah, you don't go to trial.
You just turn up the next day. The judge will go, "Oh, well done for admitting it. You're still guilty. That's just see you later." If I go to court and say, "Your Honour, I ain't guilty of this crime. We're gonna have to go through the court proceedings and go through the trial, and I'm going to bring you my evidence. You can bring your evidence. We'll thrash this out." It could take weeks. Sometimes these cases take months for these criminal things. That takes longer. It's so strange how. Yeah. I don't know whether it's people just hate City or whether they just dumb or they don't understand as to why people keep saying this. Because to me, it's so obvious. Listen, I'll say this, Joe. I don't know whether we're guilty or innocent. No, in my opinion, anyone that says we're guilty or innocent is just chatting shit because no one actually knows. Unless you were there dealing with the case at the time, then you'll have absolutely no idea whether we're innocent or guilty. So I don't know. I'm just going to wait to see what happens, and whatever happens will happen. And I'll read the report, just like you can read the Everton report that come out. But listen, it's getting everyone talking. I don't know what the solution is in terms of what the perfect rules are. I think first of all, you have to have an honest conversation about what you're actually trying to do here. Are you trying to stop clubs going bust? Yeah. Or are you trying to stop teams from being able to invest in to be able to improve their team? Because they're two different things. And I think at the moment we are too mixed. The rules are too mixed, and it's not fully clear to me what you're actually trying to do. Because teams are still going bust. Look at Reading. Teams are still going bust. And you've had obviously Bury go bust. I think Bolton almost went bust. You've had probably.
Do you know what as well, LB? And I was saying this on my stream. Yeah, Leeds United fans in a way can speak on it because obviously we got Champions League. We spent all our money on the provisions that we would go and get Europe the following season. We miss out on Europe. We then have to sell all our players. We end up in League One. Yeah. Now, had these rules been in place when we were competing at the top, because we were competing at the top, we got to a Champions League semi-final. We were in the Europa League. We were there. I am convinced now, what is it, 20 years, 2 decades, whatever it may be since that time, that we'd be one of the big six. Now, new fans in the chat may laugh at me, but we were finishing higher than Chelsea and Liverpool, in some seasons, we were top of the league at Christmas. We've done all that. And sometimes I look back and say, it was great, but do I sit there and think, had these rules been in at that time, it would have prevented us spiraling down to League One and having to rebuild, and maybe we'd have operated within our means and still been at the top table, or at least been in the top half. But now we're back in the Championship, bro. So there is a sense of like, if this was in place then but then that's not to say we might not have even got to the Champions League semi-final because
that's my point. Yeah. So you're absolutely spot on, and I don't think I can sit here and say no. You're chatting rubbish. You would still be in the Championship because obviously that one of the reasons is you sold all your players, and that's obviously why you ended up getting relegated. But would you have made it to the Champions League in the first place? I don't know. I don't know the full history on Leeds, but I think that's what you got to do, man. You got to try and find out some, because here's the thing that you can't do. You can't shut the dreams down, Joe.
No, I get that. Yeah,
because every fan has the right to be dreaming that one day their club will be winning stuff at the top table. And I genuinely say this. I want other fans to experience what I've experienced, because it's mad. It's crazy coming from where I, supporting City when we were to go through. I want other clubs to go on that journey because it's mad. But you are right. At the same time, you do have to put protections in place to stop clubs going bust. Yeah. How you do that without limiting investor spend, I don't know. But obviously, that's something that they're going to have to come up with, and whether they'll ever find a true solution, I don't know.
Because I think the thing is, LB, obviously, your owner's a mega rich, Newcastle owner mega rich, but clearly Forest owner who owns Olympiacos has got a lot of money. But like the Reading situation, the Reading, they got to the Championship playoff final, he splurged loads of money, right? They don't go up, and then he realises, I'm going to get sanctioned now. So he just says, do you know what? I'm not putting any more money in, so they can't sanction me. And then do you end up, because you've got nation states running clubs and all that, they're never going to do that. But when you've got one sole owner like this Marinakis guy, if he realises he's going to be sanctioned, maybe he does just throw the towel and say, sack it off. And then and then they get relegated, and they get relegated again. So there is that thing of protection. But what we do need to see is consistency. And if they're going to start doing it like they have this time, because there's question marks over whether or not they're only doing it to prevent this fans advisory board coming in. So there's apparently in Parliament, all that stuff. I know this is deep stuff, but we want a fans advisory board. They're saying in Parliament, we don't need it. Our own house is in order. And then that's why they've been sanctioning, because before that it was all getting kicked down the road. So as long as they're going to do this and continue to do it, then I can sort of get on board with it, because then everyone's under the same fucking rules and regs. But we'll see, and time will tell.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Guys, make sure you drop a like on the stream if you've not done so already. Let us know your thoughts as well about the whole FFP situation with Everton. Again, another charge. Yeah, they need to be careful, man. They need to be careful. Of course, they are going through this whole ownership process thing as well. So their club at the moment is in a mad situation. And if they get another points deduction this year, if it is going to be this year, then that's gonna really put them in danger, potentially getting relegated. And obviously, if you're tuning in, you're a fan of a club that got relegated in recent years, let us know in the comment section. How do you feel about this situation? Your club potentially been relegated due to adhering to the rules, where another club has stayed up. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. I want to turn our attention to Kalvin Phillips, bro. Kalvin Phillips signed from Leeds United for 40-odd million quid 18 months ago. It's not worked out whatsoever. I remember coming on your channel, in fact, a month or two ago. We had a bit of a conversation about it, and it's looking weird at the moment for Kalvin Phillips in terms of what his future holds. Now, this is the latest news. Kalvin Phillips has not agitated to leave Manchester City and have stuck to their demands to release him on loan. City want a £7 million fee being quoted. City are confident they can find a club willing to pay the money this month. However, Newcastle, they've been put off a little bit in terms of the loan fee. They think the £7 million loan fee is too high, and also the fact that City are not insistent, but I think City are heavily pushing a obligation to buy, because they obviously see Phillips as there's no chance it's going to work. They want him off the books. So they want an obligation to buy. I think that as well as maybe stopped Newcastle. Juventus early in the month, we've seen that they've pulled out of the deal. They also saying that the fees and everything involved in the deal for Kalvin Phillips is too high. What do you see happening here, Joe? Do you think City are maybe holding out till the end of the window just to try and get something done? And if push comes to shove, we get to January 31st, City will just be like, right, just go, whatever. Like, what do you think is going on here?
I think by February, mate, he won't be a City player, whatever happens, because it's not in anyone's interest. It's not in City's interests. It's not in Kalvin's interest, and it's not in Pep's interest. We've already know that Pep Guardiola is on record as saying how good of a professional Kalvin is, and I can attest to that. You know, he's a nice bloke, great around the place, never going to kick up any fuss. So they will do right by him. Maybe you'll know more than me, but I do think Pep and the club will do right by him. But we know City are shrewd operators. They're going to hold out for as much as they can. But when it comes to the end of the window, because I do think 7 million in an obligation is a bit too much, like I can't lie. But notoriously, same as Liverpool, this is why you do so well. Like, you are shrewd operators, both in the loans, both in sales, all that sort of stuff. So for me, I get what they're doing now, but it will come to a time where, because Kalvin needs to play as well if he wants to go to the Euros. He has to play. Because, okay, 6 months, but it'll be bordering on nearly like 2 years, 18 months. He won't have played hardly. So you can't really take him, regardless of how much Gareth likes him. So he has to play. I like the West Ham move for him. I like the Newcastle move for him. I think if Palace, I'm a bit like, I don't know. Maybe that's his level, some will say. But listen, I think there's been a lot of rewriting of history in terms of he's never been good enough. He's not quite the player. We all laud Pep. Yeah, he doesn't always get it right. But let's not pretend he thought he was buying a poor player. There is a player there. It's just not worked out at City. And that's fine. Maybe he's not top 6 level. But he is... he's still a good player. And I agree, he's City at a charity club, but I can guarantee you come the end of the window, he won't be a City player, because what's the point in keeping him around? What? Even if you can get 50% of his wages paid for and only 3 million loan fee, it's better than him just kicking around the place, smiling. You know what I mean? That's I don't get it. So City surely at some point will go, yeah, okay, we'll cut our losses a bit and take less. Do you agree, bro?
Yeah. The only thing that I would say is, because he doesn't kick up a fuss, that thing that you just said there at the end about it's better than keeping him around and him just smiling. If City are like, no, if City are looking at this and saying, no, this deal that we're putting forward to potential clubs is fair, right? And obviously you said 7 million plus an obligation is a little bit too much. If City are saying, no, we genuinely think that's fair, then because he's not kicking up, this isn't like Cancelo, where Cancelo was being an idiot. I think City might potentially look at it and go, well, I'll keep him around. The guy's a chiller. He likes being here. Like we've just seen as well. Apparently Phillips isn't like really saying I need to move. He's just kind of just whatever, what will be, will be. But I think that come the end of the window, City might just sit down with him and say, look, man, you know, do you not want to go and play football? Like, you're going to be on the same wages. Like, you know what I mean? We'll top up the wages or whatever. Yeah, and I see City in the end probably foregoing the obligation to buy. And to be honest with you, Joe, I don't know your take on this, but I actually have a bit of a difference of opinion to a lot of people in the chat, and a lot of people don't agree with me on this one. If you were to sell him now, how much do you reckon you get for him?
Not a lot.
He's 28.
Well, yeah, not a lot at all, really. Would you? What did you pay for him? 40? Would you eat half of that? Do you know what I mean?
25?
25, yeah.
Okay, so here's the gamble that I would go for, because I, like you, I agree that Calvin Phillips is a good player. The reason I don't think it's worked for Manchester City is because he's too slow. I think if he goes to a team that plays a double pivot, 2 men in midfield, I think he's fine. That's why he works for England with Declan Rice, because he only has one side of the pitch to cover, whereas at City, like Rodri, Fernandinho, you've got to be able to cover ground. So here's the thing, here's what I do. If I was City, I'd gamble on this guy, because I believe there's a player in there. I wouldn't put an obligation to buy him. I'd loan him, right, to a club that's going to guarantee me that he's starting, right? Otherwise, this plan doesn't work. And I'm going to gamble that he plays well for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Because then if I was to come to you in the summer and say, Joe, how much is he worth? If he's just had a good 6 months, maybe he does go to the Euros, maybe he has a couple of good games there. All of a sudden, we're talking about a 28-year-old English footballer, who's just had a good 6 months, and we know there's a player in there. Suddenly, we're back up to the £40 million mark, easy, with the way that the market's gone. So I'd gamble on it, bro. I'd honestly sack off the obligation to buy. I know City will probably want a bit of a loan fee, but you know, if you can push one in without the obligation, might be able to get one. Maybe they'll have to pay a little bit of his wages. But Joe, honestly, I'd gamble on it. I get it.
100%, because what you're doing there, like you say, it can go the other way, but I am convinced that Calvin can go. Do you know, I think West Ham's ideal for him. And he goes to a West Ham, for example, because then you can have that Rice Souček, you can have Calvin Souček or Edson Alvarez, whoever it may be.
Yeah,
I think that move works. Obviously, Newcastle are light as well, but I'm not sure they have the financial clout even at the minute. I don't know what's going on there. Joe Linton's just been injured though, but I'm convinced he goes somewhere. And like you say, if he has a good 6 months, then he goes to Euros. Let's not forget the Euros he was in before. He got player of the England player of the tournament. So he did do well and can do well. You then, like you say, can get your money back, or even because City is so good, you could say, right, if you want him permanent, give us 50 million and he's yours. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's it makes sense to do that. I agree. I agree with you, unless City knows something we don't behind the scenes. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, he did play in that single pivot for Leeds and did great there. But I get what you're saying in terms of the level from where we were playing and City are is totally different kettle of fish. And when you've got Rodri to compare it against, you're like, yeah, you're not cutting the mustard. But I am convinced that, you know, he can go and do a job elsewhere. Do you know what I mean? I'm surprised maybe that Bayern Munich haven't had a sniff, just because they
I think they have been interested, Joe. I see the
because Polina, that deal fell through, didn't it? So
yeah.
you know, I know they brought Eric Dyer in, maybe because he can play there, but he's garbage, isn't he, if we're honest. But
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I think West Ham would be great. I think Newcastle would work. If he goes to Palace, then I have to think, oh, it's a bit of a fall off. Sorry, D, but Palace are not great, are they? Right, did you flash them up about Hodgson speaking about him?
Yeah. Let me. Here it is. Roy Hodgson was. I don't know where he's been asked this, but maybe a press conference. I don't know what's going on here, but yeah, someone asked Roy Hodgson about it. He said, "Yeah, he's a good player. As far as I'm concerned, he's a name out there. All we know is that there's a possibility Man City will sell or loan him." Which is he's not really telling us much there, to be honest with you. Cheers for that, Roy.
Are you mad that Palace are in the hunt, or am I just thinking Calvin's better than what he is?
I think it'd be slightly disappointing for him to go to Palace in terms of where he is, but if, like I say, for me, he's got to use this deal now, January until May. This deal, he's got to forget about the club, right? Yeah, if he could have gone to Bayern Munich or Juventus or Newcastle and played for 6 months, great, right? But clearly, no one's buying him in this window. That's quite clearly obvious. So it's going to be a loan, and it looks like no one wants an obligation. So it's going to be a straight up loan. So the way that I'd approach this if I was Kalvin Phillips is, I'm going somewhere, and it sounds really bad, but I almost don't care about the team in terms of, you know, what our ambitions are, who the manager is, whatever. I need to go to a team that will suit me and where I'm going to play. And what my goal is going to go there and to show everybody that I'm a good player, which we all know. I believe he is a good player to a certain level, and get me a move to a bigger club in the summer. He's got to be a bit selfish, man. You know, over the last 18 months, he's come across as a very unselfish person. Do you know what I mean? In the summer, he probably should have left in the summer. But he wanted to stay, fight for his position.
He's a home bird, man. He's a home bird. This is the thing. He didn't really want to leave Yorkshire at one point and all that sort of stuff. So I'm a little bit like, when I seen the Juve thing and that, and he's got, you know, his family, his missus, I think she's pregnant. That comes into it, you know. And when he's earning 130, I thought it was only 100. I didn't realize it was 135k. But then again, if they're going to pay him that, then fair enough. But I just think with Calvin, man, he's got a big family. I don't know if this is still the case, but his dad's in the Nick, and he goes to see. He goes to see him and that. And I know this might not mean a lot to people, but they're sort of things that for him, being a family man, being a home bird, all these things probably factor into it, right? If he's in Italy, can I go over and see? And I know he's got loads of money, but so I don't know.
That's not the money thing. Doesn't really come into it though when you're talking.
No, I'm thinking emotionally because I love Calvin, the guy. You know what I mean? Because he came through my football club and all that sort of stuff. But all these things we forget as football fans will factor into it. And like you said, if City go, do you know what? He's a good lad. He gets on with Stones and Walker, Yorkshire boys. He gets on with Haaland. You know, he's always smiling. I'll just leave him about the place. Do you know what I mean? Because he probably won't, like you said, knock on Pep Store. I want to play now, you know, all this sort of stuff. So, interesting.
No, absolutely. Big up to Off Meta Professor with the super chat. Man United wouldn't even be a club if a rich businessman didn't bail them out illegally in the 1930s, says Off Meta Professor with the $5 donation. Big up, bro. Always find some United banter, can't we, in a channel, especially when we've got a Leeds fan on as well. But it's a perfect combination. The perfect combination. Big up, bro, for the donation. Caribbean Racer says, loan Calvin to Newcastle United. What if Eddie Howe straightens him out into the player we thought he'd bought? Well, this is the thing now, bro, because we played Newcastle home and away.
Yeah.
We played them home and away now. Do you know what I mean? If you get him in the FA Cup, he can't play against us anyway, I don't think. So, for me, I'm just kind of like, listen, I've told you what I'd do. I'd loan him out anywhere. I don't care where I'd loan him to. It's up to him. I'd obviously want a little bit of a fee. And in an ideal world, you want the opposition to pay, or not the opposition, you want the other club to pay all the wages, but you have to top it up. It's probably better than paying him the full whack yourself. And I'd gamble on the fact that I think if he went somewhere and played week in, week out, I think you could sell him for 35, 40, maybe even more, depending on how he gets on. I'd gamble on it.
No, I agree. Yeah, definitely. I mean, Alex going, I want my Phillips money back. It's not your money, G, and you're not going to get it, so chill out.
Yeah. Big up to Martin Mancunian Way says Newcastle want him for virtually free. No thanks. Well, the problem is though, Martin, is I'll throw it back at you then. There's no one else who wants him. So if Newcastle were willing to cover all his wages, or maybe even 80% of his wages, but they didn't want to pay a fee, or the fee was very small, what you're not going to send him there? Just keep him on our bench. We've played him a home and away. They've still got to play. I think they've still got to play Arsenal. They've still got to play Liverpool. I think you could look at this in a sort of like darker way and go, hang on a minute. You could loan him to Newcastle. Newcastle are a good team. He could potentially take points off your title rivals.
Yeah,
now that's a little bit of a madness, but you know it could happen. And again, the question would be: is it better to keep him around for free? And if you keep him around for free, for me, you're just kicking the can down the road anyway.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have to deal with this situation at some point, and you know you're gonna have to deal with it in the summer. And then he's probably lost even more value in the summer because that's another 6 months of not playing. Pep Guardiola ain't playing this guy in any football matches, man. He's just not. You know what I mean?
No.
You know, you're probably going to give him away for free anyway in the summer. The way we're going. Let's have a look what people are saying in the chat. Big up to B says, my idea, sign Palhinha from Fulham, loan Phillips to Fulham with an obligation to buy / swap Palhinha plus cash. Fucking me, that's a bit of an head twister, that one.
I was doing algebra on transfers, mate.
Sign Palhinha. So he wants to sign Palhinha, loan Phillips to Fulham with an obligation to buy, but then you want to swap Palhinha and then give Palhinha plus cash for Kimmich. What the hell are you talking about? Oh, B, what? Am I reading that right? You want us to sign Palhinha now, yeah, but then sell him in the summer for Kimmich? Oh my days! This guy, man. This guy. Pep isn't playing Calvin as much as as I'd like him to. Not Martin. He's played a lot, man. He's played a lot, bro, and it's just not going to work at City, in my opinion, man. I don't know how much more we need to see. It just doesn't work. Sometimes a transfer just fails, innit, Joe? Like,
yeah, no, 100%.
And you just got to accept it's not going to work. Listen, I want to ask you a quick question about, do you know anything about this Finley Gorman guy we signed from you guys? Because the deal broke, I think, last week. Deal signed, and I don't obviously know anything about him, but
yeah,
he's been highly rated as one of the best young players in the game. What are you hearing about this guy? Like, have you heard?
Yeah, I'm just because obviously you've took him from our place.
Yeah.
I'm just looking now, like in terms of what bits he's done. Obviously, there's a record. Wait there, I'm just trying to find it.
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah. 7-figure fees believed to be a British record for a 15-year-old. So he's only young, but like a British young, record.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it, mate? Obviously, Leeds United would have liked to keep someone with his talents. There's some clips that were doing the rounds. I don't know if you've seen them. Unbelievable. I showed some of them on a video that I did. Again, I've not had the joy to watch him or anything like that, being 15, so I don't know enough about him. I mean, it's disappointing from our perspective, but at least we're bringing in money for that. You know what I mean? That's the most important thing. We've got our own little stalwart man anyway in Archie Gray.
I seen you talking about him, man.
Yeah, man, he's attracting a lot of interest, mate. So hopefully he stays. I think he will. He's got a brother called Harry who's a striker who's smashing it as well. So watch this space on him, mate. But yeah, Finley Gorman, obviously, it's disappointing. You want to be able to keep youngsters that are coming through, but he's chose to go to City, and I get it, mate. Like I've said before, look at the rest of. The mad thing is, the rest of the big clubs, mate, and I was listening to something yesterday because they were talking about Cole Palmer, and they were saying, like, normally, on average, you might only get one or two that actually make it through your youth ranks and into the first team and to a level. You know, City have farmed a lot of them out and have never made it to City first team. But if you look at Manchester City, what they're doing, you've got Oscar Bob, you've got Rico Lewis, you've got Cole Palmer, who they've now moved on, but he was at a level enough to go to a top 6 club. You got Phil Foden, etc. All these sort of clubs, and if you look at the rest of them across the top 6, no one's competing. No one's competing at City. So for Finley Gorman and his family to go work at City under Pep, I get it. I do get it. Obviously, it's disappointing, but yeah, you would hope they would stay put at least until they can break into the first team and do bits. But listen, a kid of his age, he doesn't know about Leeds United's history. He won't know any of that stuff. So when Pep and City come, it's like, this is the team. This is what we, as like myself anyway, as an older fan, has to remember that. Some people are like, who the fuck are Leeds? Do you know what I mean? So for Finley Gorman at 15, he's only really known City be the top team. So it's like, I get it, man. And clearly, I'd be interested to see how he gets on, because sometimes it doesn't work, does it? They can go to these big clubs and never make the grade. So it's a risk for him, for his family, but I'm sure it'll pay off going to City, mate, in all honesty.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. But listen, that's obviously what City are doing now. They put a lot of money into this academy, and I remember at first when they spent all the money on the academy, because the academy at City is like unbelievable. It's like one of the best in the world, really.
Yeah.
And it's starting to pay off. It's taken a while, because of course we built the academy 10 years ago. It doesn't start producing talent overnight, but now it's in fact, going back to the FFP thing, that's now helping us deal with the FFP, because 100%. we're selling all these players for mega cash, because everyone wants to play out from the back.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to play out from the back.
Southampton, bro. You've got Howard Bellis there. You've got Bazunu. I don't rate Bazunu, but these all came from City. We took Darko JB from you, part of the Phillips deal. He's just been loaned to Plymouth. You've got
Paveda, you had him, didn't you?
Yeah, Paveda. There's all these players that have come through, and okay, they might not be at City's level, but again, FFP for yourself, it's insane. And you're not operating in the terms of a Chelsea way, where they're willing to move Conor Gallagher on, even though he's their captain, just because of the FFP advantages they get from that. Do you know what I mean? You're constantly like on the line with the balance sheet. You're fine. Yeah, sound. We'll move him on, and yeah. It's how a club shop. That's the point, mate. I've been to the Etihad. I went to see Stone Roses there as well, bro. And as a grant, what they've done for that part of Manchester, they've just come in and said, right, we're gonna splurge it up the wall and just win everything. They've actually done stuff for the community, right? They've done stuff for the community. I mean, the surrounding area is really nice. All these sort of things, which is a good thing, man. I know people might moral questions on money and all that sort of stuff, but Man City have done it the right way, I think, for me. And and I like it, because obviously I dislike Man United, so it's nice to see them knocked off the perch, bro. Do you know what I mean? Definitely.
Listen, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the show, man. Just a bit of a quick one today. Kalvin Phillips, man, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. If I have to put my prediction out there now, I think he leaves towards the end of the window. I don't think there'll be an obligation to buy. I think City will cover probably a larger amount of his wages than they probably wanted to initially, and the fee will be negligible. But City will then gamble on the fact that he has a good 6 months. And if he does, it'll be 28 in the summer, England international. If he has a good 6 months, he's going to be worth 40-50 million. So I can see, I don't think it's the end of the world. I'm not with these people who are like, listen, it's terrible news. I don't think it's that bad. So it is what it is. We just got a Mo raid. Big up to Footy Judge Mo. We're actually wrapping it up now, so I'm going to take that and I'm going to double it and pass it on to the next one.
You won't see the videos. You double it up.
I'm going to double it and pass it on. Who's live, man? Guys, who can we raid, man? Who can we raid? You got anyone that on your thing? That
I'm just going to have a look now, mate. And just see if there's anyone who's live. 1 sec, man.
Who we got? Who can we raid, guys? Who can we raid? Big up Mo for the raid, man, but we're wrapping up. We're gonna throw it out to someone. The only person I've got live is Salah, but that's a Tottenham stream. I will raid him though, but
I ain't got. Send him over there, mate.
Let's send him over to Salah. Joe, man, big up for coming on. You got anything coming up today?
I'm gonna do, because it's been light on the news front for my team the last few days. I'm gonna do the West Ham versus Bristol City FA Cup game. I'm assuming you might be doing something similar, mate. FA Cup tonight, so FA Cup shot, Bristol City Championship versus Premier League. Let's see.
Cool. Well, guys, I've linked to Joe's link in the title, so make sure you go subscribe to him. We're gonna raid Sava, so go over to him. He's talking about Tottenham. Tottenham at the moment pushing for top 4. If they was to get a top 4 and Arsenal don't, wow, the meltdown there would be unreal. Guys, make sure you drop a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this back on the replay, give us all your thoughts down below. Let us know what you think about the FFP talk and Calvin Phillips. And guys, we'll catch you in the next one. See you later.